everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming with my review of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the 1964 classic that has been seen probably all over the world. It's a movie I've watched probably every year of my life, maybe with a couple of exceptions. I mean, I can't tell you for sure that I watched it as a baby, but I think the chances are pretty solid considering how many times I watched it growing up with my parents. But again, I was pretty young, so who knows. But overall, I've watched this movie over and over again during the Christmas holidays, and I don't feel complete if I haven't checked it out. And it is a movie that I think is an interesting experience. It's a movie I enjoy a great deal every time I watch it. Like I said, it just doesn't feel right if I don't watch it during the holiday season, but at the same time, there are a lot of really mean characters in it, and for a children's movie, it really probably doesn't mean to me like that. I mean, I enjoy it a great deal, but there are a lot of characters that you're supposed to love, and they're you know, the biggest figures when they come to Christmas, like Santa Claus, for instance, who's kind of a jerk in this movie, and says some pretty awful things, and I enjoy the whole plot of this movie and how it's supposed to basically be saying that, you know, being different can be a good thing, and the fact that these characters who are different early on get treated like jerks by they don't get treated like jerks, they get treated by jerks like they're garbage. I mean, it's appalling, but then by the end, how they, you know, they realize that their differences is what makes them special, and what gives them the ability to be valuable to society. You know, that's all good, well and good. But I gotta tell you, every single time I watch this movie, I've never been convinced of the fact that as soon as their usefulness goes away, as soon as, you know, Rudolph can't be the guiding light through the Christmas nights as fog and snow and all that kind of stuff cover the land. As soon as that's no longer the case and it's a bright night and they don't need him, he doesn't go right back to being ostracized, because there are lots of characters in this movie that do not appear to have gone through any magnificent change in their perspective of these characters. They just seem to kind of go along with the fact that all of a sudden Santa needs Rudolph now, so they're going to celebrate him for the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if they go right back to hating him the next day. And at the end of the day, I mean, it is just a kids movie, and the animation is awesome. The claymation is very, very entertaining. So at the end of the day, I enjoy it. But as an adult, I definitely look at it very, very differently than I did before. Like I said, I mean, this movie, of course, stars Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer who gets ostracized for having a red nose, and by the end of the movie ends up becoming the hero of the story. But they also introduce some other misfits. They introduced Hermie, the elf that wants to be a dentist, and at the same time, as an adult, I gotta wonder what Rankin and Bass were on when they came up with that whole idea, the elf dentist. It's quite peculiar, but it's entertaining, and the idea that he, you know, loathes making toys because his passion is in fixing teeth of all things. It's very entertaining. And but he has the head elf that comes around, and whenever the head elf finds out that that's the case, he wants nothing to do with them, and he kicks him out of their society for the large degree, or tells him that he's got to change his ways. So Hermie and Rudolph go off on an adventure to try to get away from the people whose lives that they don't think that they're making any better, and in doing so, they do break the hearts, or at least Rudolph breaks the hearts of at least two other female reindeers whose hearts were in the right place and understood his value right from the beginning. His mother, of course, who never has a name other than Mrs. Donner, I believe, and Clarice, the female reindeer his own age that seems to have become rather smitten with him. But aside from that, nobody else seems to really care all that much. I mean, his father regrets that he treated him so poorly, and that's it. So Donner, who's of course one of Santa's reindeer, he's another jerk in this movie. When he realizes his nose glows, he's just absolutely horrified, and he treats him like as if he's this monster for a moment. But then he comes up with this ingenious idea of rubbing stuff all over his nose that makes it so it's hard for him to breathe through his nose, but at least doesn't make him look like a weirdo. And that whole thing is pretty off-putting. The fact that he's comfortable with his son not being able to breathe properly and having this weird voice just so he can hide his own shame at something that is not deserving of that is rather off-putting. And Santa is a major part of that, because when he shows up and he sees the little reindeer Rudolph, he's absolutely revolted by the idea of this. Maybe not revolted, but he's not a fan of the whole thing either. He thinks that that's all weird, and he seems to support Donner's decision to try to make over his nose to make it more normal, which is again disappointing. Santa should not be that judgmental by any stretch of the imagination. He's supposed to be this figure of love and joy. But at least you do have Mrs. Claus in this movie, who's much more kind of in that vein. She's much more likable and seems to enjoy everybody. But again, I mean, there's so many characters that are jerks. But at least once Hermie and Rudolph go off on their adventure, they do meet some other characters that are kind of more in tune with their thinking on life, and that you don't have to go down the road that everybody else travels. The most notable, of course, is Yukon Cornelius, the gold digger that is hunting around the North Pole trying to find deposits of gold or silver, and he's probably my favorite character in this entire thing. I mean, he's so weird though, like the whole thing where he's got his little pickaxe, and he'll dig into the ground and he'll start licking it to try to see if he can taste any gold or silver. It's the way that they animate him doing it, where he's like, it's all pretty funky, but a lot of fun. I quite enjoy Yukon Cornelius, and that's when they introduced this monster, the Abominable Snowman, who they call Bumble, and he's this being. It's funny, I was watching this movie not too long ago with my daughter, and of course when Bumble showed up, she's like but she wasn't scared of him too much longer, because he's pretty tame by the end of the movie, of course, and it actually ends up helping them put the angel on the top of the tree. But I thought that the way that they animated Bumble again was one of the best parts of this movie as well. But I gotta tell you, my favorite moment in this movie is when they go to the island of Misfit Toys, which is quite a thing, where they meet all these Misfit Toys. You have like a pink elephant, you have a water pistol that shoots jam instead of water, which of course is weird because they could have just put water in it. Should be able to do the same thing. I mean, it's just this collection of weirdos, a train with wheels that are square, because that's a thing. Why would that? But anyways, let's just roll with it. But my favorite of all the Misfit Toys has to be the one that you meet right off the hop, the sentry for the island, Charlie in the box, and that's his whole problem. He's not Jack in the box. His name is Charlie in the box. And that whole thing is just hysterical, because of course nobody has to know that that's his name. It's just so silly but hilarious. But again, they introduce a weird element in this movie where they find out that the island of Misfit Toys, which again is quite a foreign concept that I'd never heard prior to watching this movie as a kid. It's not like it's a part of the song. It's just some weird thing that Rankin and Bass came up with. But the way in which they create this island of Misfit Toys is apparently they're on this island that is ruled by a flying lion named King Moonracer, who flies all over the world and finds the Misfit Toys that nobody wants and brings them to the island. I mean, seriously, what were they on when they wrote this? I mean, it's just weird, but it's pretty great. I enjoy this movie a lot, and of course, I mean, if I can't talk about this movie without speaking about Sam the Snowman, the legendary figure, the narrator of the film, voiced by Burl Ives, who performs a number of the most notable songs in this. And I love how they reference the character pretty much in Elf, and he's a lot of fun. He serves as a pretty great narrator, and just the vocal quality of Burl Ives is great. Overall, I enjoy this movie immensely. I definitely have my quibbles with it, and there's a number of things in it that I watch it as an adult and I'm like, really? That's okay. But at the same time, I always have fun with it, so I can't complain too much about this movie. If I was going to give it a score out of 10, I'd probably say it belongs in about the 8.5 range, and if I was going to give it a score out of 10 as far as nostalgia goes, definitely a 10. So those are my thoughts on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Let me know in the comments below what you think, if you're as puzzled by elements of it as I am, whatever. Other than that, please hit that like button, hit the share button. It makes it much more likely that other people will come check out this review, which would be awesome, because I love talking to people about movies, and I love everybody who checks this out to be one of them. And as you get it out there, and they come and check it out, please hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you find out when I put out a new video, and you can come check it out and give me your thoughts. Aside from all that though, have yourself a good day.